Okay, trying again. Let's see here. This is my lucky third time. Okay, it's connected. Yay. I think we can just now click go live and it should work. Fantastic. We're back in a good place. We're live. Wonderful. Here we go. We're live. We're live. We're live. Hi, everyone. We're live for today's explant surgery Q&A. And we're talking about the whole journey on these Q&As. So we've got, the explant journey it's kind of never ending once you decide to step into this as something that you choose to do in your life. And, from the time you make that decision to explore removing your breast implants, you kind of move into this new phase of your life, and it's definitely a transformative time. And I'm nearly 3 years after explant surgery, so next month will be my 3-year anniversary after explanting. And I can tell you, I mean, it continues. The journey continues. It just looks different. So we are live. Let me know if you're here with me. I have us here in the Facebook group and the Empowered Explant Facebook group, and I'm live on Instagram, and we're live on YouTube. So I'm really excited to be doing these series of Q&As and getting some of your questions answered, because like I mentioned last week, I decided to begin this series so that, the questions that I'm seeing, that I'm getting asked, I'm able to answer those. And I know that if one person has these questions, then a lot of us have the same questions. So I'm just going to dive in today and go and dive into the first question. But I do want to let you know that, if you are watching live, I would love for you to say hi, give me a wave in the comments, tell me where you are. And if you're watching the replay as well, please let me know that you are here and watch the replay. Drop a hello in the comments. Let me know what you were, if you had any questions that you want me to answer. If I don't get to your questions today, if you drop them in the comments, then that's perfect, because that means that I'll answer them next week. So yeah, let me know what questions you have for me. And let me know where you're at, where you're from, where you're joining from. If you are on your explant journey, let me know, where are you at on that journey? Are you preparing for explant? Have you already had your surgery? Is it just something that you're thinking about and you're information gathering? I remember being in that phase. So let me know. All right. We've got some juicy questions today. And I'm really excited because I think that these are questions that a lot of women have. The first one is, should I get a lift and fat transfer at the time of explant surgery, or is it best to wait? Before I answer this question, which is a great question, if you are here with me on Instagram, in the Facebook Live, can you please drop an emoji or a yes in the comments if you can hear me? If you can hear me, please drop an I can hear you or a yes in the comments so that I know that I am speaking and y'all can hear me, because it would really suck if I got all the way through the end of this live and no one heard a word I said. So let me know if you can hear me, please. That would be amazing. Janice, I see that you are here watching. I see your comment. You said you're here. Can you drop a comment letting me know if you can hear me, please? That would be amazing. Can you hear me? Okay, no one is saying if they can hear me or not. So I'm just going to proceed, and hopefully we have sound. Slightly concerning, but my microphone looks like it's working. So I'm just going to continue. All right, question 1. Should I get a lift and fat transfer at the time of surgery, or is it best to wait? All right, great question, and a question that, oh my gosh, so many of us have in that initial planning phase of our surgery, right? Wow. Okay, so I think it's important to consult with surgeons to hear what they have to say for your individual circumstances. And I just want to say that first, because I think that a lot of us can get into this place where we haven't had consultations yet, and we're like crowdsourcing the answers in Facebook groups and everything, which is great. It's good to get informed and get information, but definitely get those opinions from surgeons, because we're all a little bit different, right? And I think that I'll get into that. So a lot of surgeons perform these additional procedures at the time of explant, so lifts, fat transfers, but there are some surgeons who prefer to wait generally. So my surgeon, Dr. Dev, no longer does fat transfer at the time of explant surgery, because the results are better once the breasts have healed. And, that makes total sense to me. When your body's in a state of healing after explant, and like there's just so many changes that your breasts have just experienced, right? They've been stretched out from these implants. They might have had capsular contracture. You might have had rupture. You might have had just like breast pain, and everyone has, their breast tissue has been like compressed from the implants. Your skin has been stretched. So, oh my gosh, your breasts have been through so much. And so it does make sense to allow your breasts to heal before having those, especially a fat transfer. And I believe that he told me that the fat holds better. There's a better percentage rate of fat that stays if you wait. So that's why he does that. One of the reasons I decided not to get a lift at the time of my explant was because I wanted to see how my breasts healed naturally first, so I could avoid extra scars if possible, to be honest. Like I didn't want the extra scars if I could avoid them. And it's kind of been reassuring for me to know that I can always get a lift if I want one, So I think if all the surgeons you consult with say you'll absolutely need a lift because your skin is super stretched, or your skin health, maybe they're concerned that your skin won't retract well, then maybe it's something you need to choose to do at the time of explant to save yourself the extra surgery. Maybe that's the most logical choice to make based on all the information you collect and your individual circumstances. But if it's kind of a give or take, some surgeons are like, yes, you should get a lift. Other surgeons are like, you can wait, or maybe you won't need one. Then maybe you wait it out. Uh, I know that that was the case with my mom when she was having consultations. There were some surgeons that were like, oh, yeah, your boobs are going to look like, what did he say? Oh my gosh. What did he say to my mom? I think he said they're going to look like flat pancakes, or like they're going to look, I don't know, but it wasn't very nice and it wasn't very reassuring. So he was like, you're definitely going to need a lift. But ultimately, my mom didn't really want a lift, so she kept getting other opinions. Uh, and then a couple of other surgeons said to her, you know what? You'll be fine without a lift. I think you'll still have good results. And that was enough to reassure her, like, hey, I'm going to wait it out. And you don't know if you're going to have fantastic results or be really happy or have to get a lift, but sometimes waiting it out is the answer. In my opinion, giving your skin and breast tissue time to heal naturally allows the surgeon to really see what they're working with when you do go back in for a lift or fat transfer. But there are some circumstances where it does make sense to get a lift at the time. I think really the big question mark is the fat transfer. And from what I know, from what I've seen, and based on what my surgeon has decided is best, it can produce better results to have a fat transfer after you've healed. And I interviewed my surgeon, Dr. Deb, on the Empowered Explant podcast. It was such a good interview as well. And he talks about this. So I recommend taking a listen of that if these questions are in your mind. That might be a really helpful episode so that you're hearing directly from a very experienced explant surgeon. And if you want a link to that episode, drop the word podcast in the comments. So if you want to hear my interview with my surgeon, Dr. Dev, where we talk all about lifts and fat transfers, as well as explant surgery, drop the word podcast in the comments and I will send that to you. All right. I see a couple of breasties have joined here live. Nice to see you. Yay, Kyla. I'm so glad you listened to that episode and got some value out of that. It really was such a insightful conversation. I mean, even for me, he answered questions in that interview that I didn't even know prior to my own surgery with him. It was such a good interview. And yay, I'm glad that you're here. All right. So the next question I have is, I got breast implants because I didn't like my sagging boobs. That's a common reason. But the next part of her question is, will I regret explant surgery? That's her fear, that she will regret explant surgery because she didn't like her sagging boobs to begin with, which is why she got breast implants, right? So makes sense. And it's a very reasonable and very real fear to have. This is a very personal and individual question, though. And my answer is maybe. Maybe you will regret explant surgery. I hope not. I really hope not. I say this a lot, but explant surgery is as much a mental and emotional journey as it is physical. I literally cannot say that enough. And it's incredibly important to address self-esteem and body image concerns before you have your explant surgery so that you can work through the reasons you got implants to begin with and prepare for how this change might affect you. I think it's really, for lack of a better word, this, I don't want to sound harsh, but it's ignorant to think that this isn't going to have an effect on you emotionally, especially if you had body image concerns before you got breast implants. I mean, these are things that we literally have to sit down and talk about and face and think through and work through. Interestingly enough, though, there are other options aside from breast implants that can solve the problem of sagging breasts. Unfortunately, a lot of plastic surgeons out there go straight to the solution of breast implants without talking through the other options. I hear this so often where women have had concerns about sagging and they go to the surgeon, and the first thing the surgeon does is recommend breast implants. And they don't even talk about all of these other options. And more often than not, a breast lift can resolve the issue for a lot of women without the need for implants. And yet, that's not even something that's put on the table in front of us as an option. So, if you are really concerned that removing your breast implants could put you back into a negative place mentally, it might be worth looking into the option of adding a lift, especially if sagging was the concern prior to getting your implants. I also recommend reframing some of the thoughts here because your body will never regret taking the implants out. Your body will feel so relieved when these implants come out of your body. So that means it's all mental at this point. It's all mental. It's all mental and emotional. Even when I have days where I don't like the imperfections on my breasts, I never regret taking the implants out because my health and quality of life is my priority. And I know that there are other options available to me if the aesthetics become an issue. If it's something that once I've done all the emotional work, I've done all of this, the healing and the mindset work around this, and I'm like, you know what, this is a real issue for me. There are options. And I'm also going to say, just honestly, that not all women are happy with the way their breasts look after explant. And I never want to sit here and preach that it's all roses all of the time, because I don't want you to get on the other side of explant and be like, what was this bitch talking about? Like, this is not so easy. Or my breasts are taking a while to bounce back. Or my breasts aren't bouncing back. So it's not always roses, not even for me. But many of the women who stay in a negative state of mind aren't taking the action to change that, to heal emotionally, to rewire their thoughts and beliefs, to seek solutions, to get therapy or coaching, to speak kindly about themselves and treat their bodies with love. We shouldn't be calling our boobs or any part of our bodies ugly or deformed, because we eventually believe our thoughts and our words. It doesn't mean that you wake up and you look in the mirror and you lie to yourself every day, because you're not going to believe that either. But find the next best thought, the next best words. Like, I am beautiful and healthy despite my flaws. My imperfections are my reminder of my resilience. I am proud of myself for choosing my health. There are positive words we can reach for that are truths instead of like always speaking these negative, hateful words about ourselves, which really don't help anything. You can come to a place of self-acceptance and confidence and inner joy and not have perfect breasts. Undoing the choice we made to get implants is a difficult decision, and one that means that we are really prioritizing what's important. We're prioritizing our health and our well-being, and maybe getting back to feeling physically good and physically more like ourselves. And it does come with both risks and rewards. And I think it's important to be informed of that, because informed consent is important. And it's something that a lot of us did not have when we got our breast implants. So knowing that there are risks, knowing that there are going to be challenges that you face throughout your explant recovery, that's informed consent, and it's empowering. And in my opinion, the rewards far outweigh the risks. If you're resonating with this topic, if you're feeling this, if you've got fears around this, if you've got doubts, if you're feeling regrets after explant surgery, if you've had your explant surgery and you're worried about what you're seeing in the mirror, if you are feeling any kind of concerns at all about this journey, then I really recommend that you listen to Mel Robbins' recent episode on her podcast about her breast implants and overcoming regret. She dives in, oh my gosh, in true Mel Robbins style. She is incredibly honest, and it's one of the best conversations that I've heard on this topic for sure. So I recommend listening to that. I also have a podcast about regret on the Empowered Explant podcast, which can be helpful. But this is something that you can work through on the other side, and it's not going to get easier. I think that that's the thing to remember here. One day, you will need to face removing your breast implants, likely. And when that day comes, you're going to have to face this work. And so my answer is, why not now? But definitely understand that there is an emotional part of this. A big part of this is emotional and mental, and it's best that you start doing that work now before you explant, so that you can be prepared for what you're going to face on the other side. Okay. Whew. Next question. If anyone here has questions for me, if you're watching live, or if you are watching the replay, drop your questions for me in the comments, because if I don't get to them today, I will absolutely answer them on a future Q&A. I'm doing Q&As. I've got them scheduled every Saturday at 11 a.m. Central through to the end of November at this point. So I'm super excited. It may continue if the questions keep rolling, but yeah, so drop me your questions. You can DM me your questions. Let me know what you need answered. Yes, I will absolutely drop a link to Mel's podcast episode and my podcast in the comments for you. Thanks for that question. I will drop them for sure. I'll do that as soon as I finish up here. So the next question This is interesting because it was more of a conversation I was having with a breastie. And she was asking me some surgeon related questions because she's looking for the right explant surgeon for her right now. And there's one surgeon with a $20,000 price tag for explant only, no add ons. And I asked to see his details. I was like, all right, so who is this surgeon? I want to check him out. And so the first question here is, okay, is $20,000 for explant surgery reasonable? Well, I guess it could be, depending on the surgeon, their location, their expertise, and your budget, right? Like, oh, is $20,000 a walk in the park for you? Does that feel comfortable for you? Then maybe it's okay if the surgeon is dope and you feel really good about that. Quick sip of water. I'm talking a lot. But that price tag is not necessary to have a successful high quality surgery. You can absolutely pay half of that, like I did, and have a fantastic job done. I would expect 20K if you start looking at things like lifts and fat transfers and you're adding things to your explant surgery, or if there's like a really complex case, like maybe you've got ruptures, maybe there's some real issues with the capsule that have to be taken into consideration. But 20K is a steep price tag for explant only, especially if it's pretty straightforward, even with a total capsulectomy. The next question is, okay, is this surgeon worth it? Right? So I go to this surgeon's Instagram account and I'm scrolling through, and he has a pretty active Instagram profile, but nothing about explant surgery. Like, I didn't see one post about explant surgery. I saw rhinoplasty and facelifts, and the only breast work he was posting about was augmentation. So actually putting implants in and even inserting internal bras, which are also a huge inflammatory health risk. And so based on this, my personal response would be an absolutely not. Especially not at a 20K price tag. That's my opinion. Obviously, like, that's at a glance looking at Insta without like doing a deep dive into this guy. But considering he's active on Instagram and isn't talking about explant at all and is clearly focused on putting things inside your breasts, that's just a no for me. I would keep looking. I guess almost any board certified plastic surgeon could take out breast implants, right? Like, they're trained in surgery, they could take them out. But I always recommend that you find a surgeon with a ton of experience in explant surgery specifically, and a belief and understanding of breast implant illness. And that's just so that, when you're there, when you're on the operating table, they're taking this seriously. They're not like, this chick, like, she's complaining about BII, but I don't really believe in it. I think I just want to, I would rather stick another set of implants in her. Like, I just take issue with that, not having somebody who has my life and my health in their hands who's taking that really seriously. Whew, okay. These were some deep questions. And I look forward to seeing what questions I can answer for you next Saturday. Feel free to DM me your questions. Feel free to drop them. If you're watching the replay, drop your comments, your questions in the comments, and I will look at them and bring them into my Q&As next week, the week after. I'm going to be doing this, like I mentioned, every Saturday, 11 a.m. Central Time. Tell people, share this with other communities, with breasties, with women who, who are going through surgery, or maybe women who have breast implants that need to hear some of these real truths, right, about breast implants and some of these questions answered so that they can just get up to speed with the explant journey and maybe start to put the pieces of the puzzle together for themselves in what they might be experiencing with their own breast implants. Janice says, I stayed away from surgeons that wanted to put breast implants in. Yeah, because they do try to tell you that you should put more in. I agree. And I was with you during those, I was right by your side during those consultations. And there were surgeons that are doing augmentations still. And they were telling her, like, I would recommend a replacement because your boobs are going to look like pancakes. It's like, wow. And so that is, I think, also one of the risks that you take when you're talking to surgeons who put implants in or who are kind of pushing that aesthetic look more so than explants or don't believe in breast implant illness. I think that that you do run that risk. I mean, as any surgeon that is consulting with a woman who's first of all late 50s, presenting with real chronic inflammation concerns and breast implant illness symptoms, for him to sit there and be like, yeah, I think the best course of action would be for me to put more implants in your body. Bro, that is such a money grab. Like, why? Like, why would you even? It just doesn't make sense to me. So, yeah, choosing a surgeon is tough, but it's one of the most important decisions you'll make for, like, not only your surgery and your results, which is really important, but also for your breast implant illness healing, because it depends on like how seriously they take it, and also your mental health going into the surgery. Because if you're talking to a surgeon that is telling you that your breasts are going to look like pancakes, you're going to be really unhappy. They recommend a replacement and you decide to go with that explant only. There's always going to be that's going to be what's in the back of your mind, instead of going to a surgeon who's supportive and is telling you what the truth, and what to expect, but holding your hand in truly believing that this is you're making the best decision for your health and your body, and knowing that they are going to do whatever they can professionally to give you the best results possible. And then they can also give you options for what they can do to remove the implants, but also give you the aesthetic outcome that you're hoping for. So, rant over, super important. And also, if you are planning your explant surgery right now, and you don't have my 33-step explant planning checklist yet, drop the word checklist in the comments and I will send that over to you. That's really helpful. Obviously, one of the first steps, one of the key decisions that you're going to make here is your explant surgeon, your procedure type, all really important decisions to make. And I'm so happy to support you in that journey. So if you're feeling conflict around those decisions, reach out to me, shoot me a DM, and I will be happy to support you on that journey. All right, friends, have a beautiful, beautiful weekend, and I will see you here live again next Saturday. But come and listen to the podcast too. Every Tuesday, I drop a new episode on the Empowered Explant podcast. So I will also see you there.